This is the gory scene of the fuel tanker explosion which occurred in Onitsha, the commercial capital of Anambra State, on October 16th. The explosion occurred after a petrol-laden tanker lost control and crashed into Toronto Hospital at Opiweka, then spread to Ochanja and Manex markets. According to reports so far, affected are up to 10 people burnt, including a pregnant woman and her 3-year-old baby. Scores injured. 40 buildings razed. Over 50 lock-up shops burnt. Property worth billions destroyed. While Onitsha grapples to come to terms with one of the worst fire incidences to ever happen in that town, a similar occurs barely 48 hours after. In the early hours of Friday, October 17th, another petrol tanker exploded along Enugu-Onitsha Expressway by Besoy Filling Station, Onitsha, Anambra State. The tanker was said to have fallen in the middle of the road, spilling its contents along the drainages. Though no casualty was recorded, buildings and property worth millions were gutted by the fire. Many have spoken from the Wednesday Inferno in Onitsha, from President Muhammadu Buhari, who commiserated with the victims, to former presidential candidate Atiku Abubakar, who sends prayers to the families. Nigerians all over are saddened by the news of the Onitsha Inferno. Perhaps what hurts most is the fact that these fires are preventable. The 2 explosions in Onitsha this week are not isolated incidents. In Anambra State, February 9, 2019, 7 people were killed in the tanker fire that occurred close to the Governor's Lodge in Amobia, Oka South local government area of Anambra State. 6 buildings, 10 shops and 15 vehicles were burnt, just as goods worth hundreds of millions of naira were consumed in the inferno. February 11, 2019, a petrol tanker went up in flames at a filling station along Nnewi-Okigwe Expressway, Nnewi, Anambra State. Although no life was lost in the incident, many sustained injuries. February 4, 2018, 17 shops were razed after a petrol-laden tanker with 33,000 litres of fuel crashed into Nkwogidi Market in Idemili North local government area and burst into flames. No death was recorded. May 31, 2015, 69 persons were burned to death beyond recognition at Asabamoto Park, Onitsha, Anambra State, after a trailer loaded with petrol rammed into cars and people. Petrol tanker explosions are almost commonplace all over Nigeria. Who could forget Benue, July 2, 2019? At least 45 people were killed and more than 100 injured when the tanker crashed and then exploded as people gathered to scoop fuel. Another memorable one is Lagos, June 27, 2018. One of the deadliest fuel tanker infernos occurred on the Otedola Bridge at the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway. 9 persons were confirmed dead and over 50 cars were burnt. In fact, within September 11th to October 12th, 2019, 3 other fuel tanker incidences had been recorded on Otedola Bridge, Lagos, with several injured and property destroyed, but no explosions. River State, 12 July 2012. The Okobia Road tanker explosion occurred when a tanker fell into a ditch, spilled its petrol contents, and subsequently exploded. A total of 121 people were killed. Ibadan, 5th November 2000. The Ibadan tanker truck explosion was one of the worst ever multi-vehicle accidents, killing more than 100 people near Ibadan, Oyo State, Nigeria. The list goes on and on and on. And the worst part is, all these fire incidences were preventable. In December 2016, the Federal Road Safety Corps Marshal Boboye Oyeyemi announced a ban that restricts petroleum tanker drivers from driving at night. This was an attempt to end road accidents caused by fuel tankers. However, the causes of fuel tanker explosion is beyond fuel tankers plying the road at night. Many explosions are caused by faulty tankers which often lose control, fall and spill. Bad roads are contributing factors as these big vehicles often tip while trying to navigate Nigeria's treacherous roads. Driver negligence is also a cause of accidents that lead to explosions. In most advanced countries, petrol is transported via waterways, trains and pipelines to different locations. In areas where petroleum products are moved by road, the large vehicles are restricted to certain routes to reduce tragedies. Poor town planning in Nigeria allows for filling stations to be built in residential and high-density areas, which lead to massive casualties and losses in the event of mishaps. With a weak legal system as is seen in Nigeria, punitive measures are lacking which could have served as deterrent to drivers or trucking companies that disobey regulations. In the case of the Ochanja Market Inferno, the fire service department arrived hours after the blaze had begun. Reports say even after arriving at the scene, the team lacked facilities such as water to put out the fire. This is the case in many fire incidences in Nigeria. In January 2017, then Minister of Interior Lieutenant General Abdulrahman Dambazo said, "The last time firefighting equipment was procured was sometime in 1996. The equipment in the inventory today were those procured between 1985 and 1996, and since then, there was no procurement." As of 2017, there were only 268 fire vehicles serving the entire nation. In July this year, the Controller General Federal Fire Service, Ibrahim Liman, passionately pleaded with the federal government to release 9.2 billion naira for 32 firefighting equipment. He said the service could not take delivery of the fire assets due to cuts in the 2018 and 2019 capital budget proposals. All these are reflected in the department's slow response to fire incidences, as well as their inability to control fires in record time. This is both simple and complex, as explained by Jide Ojo, a developmental expert who has written several articles in many Nigerian dailies about the poor state of our firefighting capabilities.
We need to do the roads in such a way that it's smooth, and maybe in addition we stop the movement of petroleum products through trucks. You cannot continue to truck articulated truck highly inflammable products, be it gas or other petroleum products, and not expect that occasionally there will be an explosion of this nature. So the basic thing is, if we can use the rail to transport this product, use the waterways or pipelines. If you use the pipelines, you reduce the trucking to intracity, and once you do that, all these tanker explosions on the highway will be reduced to the barest minimum. I think it's high time we privatize this disaster management agency. I don't know whether that would be the most appropriate terminology. What I'm saying is to liberalize it, to bring in private sector participants. So if you license private, just like we have private security firms, and if you have private firefighting organizations that people can call in case of emergency to respond and rescue, or for search and rescue, or for dealing with such emergencies, and they pay. Because I would rather pay 50,000 to salvage property worth hundreds of millions than to say you are waiting for a fire service whose equipment you are not sure of their state of their state of performance. Punitive measures, the laws guiding some of these articulated vehicles are very clear, and they should be liable even for road mishaps. If there are supposed to be insurance cover for those articulated vehicles, or any vehicles for that matter that is plying Nigerian roads. You are supposed to have minimal third-party insurance. Do these vehicles have comprehensive insurance coverage? If they have comprehensive insurance, in which case, if there are disasters involving those articulated vehicles and they are the cause of those disasters, the victim of such disasters should be entitled to compensation from the insurance fund that provided the cover for those articulated vehicles. But we have a very corrupt system. Many a time, police, road safety corps, VIOs, who are supposed to make sure that there is a comprehensive, not third party, comprehensive insurance by these articulated vehicles, look the other way once their palms are greased. And so they allow them to operate on our roads without proper insurance coverage. So when disaster happens, if the driver of such articulated vehicles manage to escape, that will be the end. And of course, the owners can be tracked because of the biometric registration system we have. And I think the law enforcement should follow through to ensure that if your vehicle is involved, caused a road mishap which lead to fatalities, the owner, not necessarily the driver, the owner vicariously must be responsible for Medicare of the victim, and if there are deaths, adequate compensation should be paid.
With each tragedy involving tanker explosions comes sympathy and rhetorics by government and stakeholders with little action to curb these devastating incidences. The 2020 budget has up to 10.33 billion naira mapped out for the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development. But would this make any difference? Because as fuel tankers continue to ply our bad roads without proper checks, emergency services poorly managed, and no one held accountable for these tragedies, Nigerians are unprotected, literally sentenced to death by tanker explosions. Unless something is done, no one is safe from these infernos. Roots TV, Nigeria.